it's okay to not work full time, like, 9 to 5, 5 days a week. In my case, it's because I'm disabled, basically, and more specifically, I have autism and ADHD, all officially diagnosed. But I was self-diagnosed for a few years as well before I did the official stuff. It doesn't really matter what your diagnosis is. The more important thing is that you just, I guess, work with yourself rather than against yourself. Because even though, I would say I'm a pretty intelligent guy, I'm pretty, hardworking and all that, like, most jobs I just think aren't really suited to me, especially full time in my field, the SEO, which is basically optimizing websites so that people can find them on Google, which I'm pretty good at. But it's the social side, I feel like, where, you know, I'm really restricted. And I think for a lot of autistic people, this is something they can also relate to, like they're great when it comes to doing the job, when it comes to actually having to talk to people, like, talking to your manager or talking to co-workers. That's, I feel like, where a lot of autistic people fall over. For me, it's not just that, but it's also just keeping up. I just don't have the same capacity as, like, a normal person to do that full time. Previous job, I was out there for like 1.5 years, and I mean, obviously, like, there was other things going on there too that weren't great. But even if it was an okay job, like, eventually, like, I was gonna burn out, like, either way. Full time just wasn't sustainable. When you spend so much time at one place, even if you kind of enjoy it, or for someone that has autism or ADHD, and it really affects them. Like, I'm not saying every autistic person can't work full time. Like, a lot of people can, but I think for me, like, it just really takes a lot out of you. I had, like, lots of jobs, and I've tried so many things, and I just keep burning out. And if you don't listen to your body eventually, then it will force you to listen to it. It's currently in the longest burnout I've been in, which is like about 7 months now. I mean, I'm actually in recovery, thankfully, with the help of a lot of medication, especially my ADHD medication, which I pretty much can't function without these days, because that's just kind of how bad burnout has gotten. But the thing with being autistic is that, especially when you're undiagnosed for so long and you think that you're just like a normal person with anxiety or whatever, which I do have anxiety, but all the autism and ADHD just makes everything so much worse. But yeah, like, I could pretend that, like, I was a normal person, I could do full time, and it would work. It'd be doing pretty good at work or whatever, and then, there would always come to a point where I just can't do it anymore. It keeps happening over and over again. And obviously, just because a job isn't full time doesn't mean it's going to be the best thing in the world, but at least I'll have more energy to deal with any problems that come up in the job or in other parts of my life. Even if you're not autistic, even if you don't even have, like, any, labels or illnesses or whatever diagnosed, and just feel inside of you that you can't do it. Like, I think you should really listen to yourself, because, I mean, obviously, like, money is going to be a problem, and not everyone is, I guess, as privileged as I am to be able to work part-time, but you really have to consider how long you can keep working full-time for. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's better that, you work, say, 4 days a week, and, you can do that for like 10 years, than working full-time and only being able to do that for like 1 year and then burning out for another year. I feel like I've been pushing myself for, like, just way too long, and I don't know, I don't even really know who I am anymore, like, I guess that's how I kind of burnt out, or, how much I was kind of, like, masking, like, trying to, yeah, kind of pretend to be a normal person, or I guess live up to expectations of a normal person. Now, I don't know, I'm just really slowly, real bit rebuilding myself and my life to a point where it can be sustainable. And because I think the ADHD side of me makes it, I guess, really easy to push myself too far. Sometimes I can get really, I guess, hyperactive, or you need to kind of just slow down and yeah, really just take things at my own pace and what I'm comfortable with. Because at this point, like even working part time or I don't know, anything I guess is better than burning out again, especially for like 6-7 months. Every time if I feel like it gets worse and worse. So yeah, definitely yeah, listen to your body. Don't listen to what your parents say, especially Asian parents. My parents are pretty understanding. Like there's so much pressure to work full time to buy a house, especially in Australia where like housing prices are like ridiculous. You're sold like that dream of like having a car, owning your own house, raising kids and or dogs or whatever. How do you get there? You have to work full time. You have to make more money. That's just kind of what we're told. That's just what we see. What we, I suppose, are supposed to aspire to. But some of us just aren't built for it. I mean, if you are built for that and that's what you want to do, then by all means, like, go for it. Like, there's nothing wrong with working full time. But for some people, especially disabled folks like myself, when you don't respect your limits, yeah, you get burnout. And often it's when it's too late that you stop and you start, addressing these problems. Well, my advice would be try to slow down before, things kind of get out of control. Do what you can, or especially with autism, it can be hard. It can be hard to know when you're taking things too far. Even like when I was like self-diagnosed and I realized I had autism, I still wanted to, be productive, like a person that didn't have autism and could like do all these cool things. And that expectation, really like fucked me up because I'm not a normal like person. Not like there's anything wrong with me, but I just can't. I don't have the same energy, as like a normal person. Like going out, can be exhausting for me sometimes, even on the best of days. Whereas a normal person, that wouldn't be the case. Or like say buying groceries, like, that can be tiring. But for a normal person, that's just normal. Maybe it's because of like the Asian culture of hustling and I don't know, working hard or whatever, or maybe it's just society. But I kept trying to prove that it was just because I had these issues, like I could be just as good as a normal person. And it's not that I can't work or I can't do things, but I have to do it like my way and at my pace, which is a lot slower, I think, than the average person, or at least different. The main thing is that I have to let go of that expectation that I have to work full time, that I have to make 100k a year or make as much money as possible per hour so that I can buy a house or I don't know, buy more things. And I've never liked buying things anyway. Like I've always been quite frugal, so it's not like I need like a ton of money, like unless I really, really want to buy a house or just chasing this dream, this expectation, even though I knew that it wasn't healthy for me. But I don't know, I couldn't help it but want to prove maybe even myself or other or society wrong that I can keep up. But then I just kept getting burnt out. Now I don't know, I'm trying to just live a slow and simpler life. Like I'm not saying I'm giving up entirely. I'm just gonna stay at home forever. My main focus is just burnout prevention at this point. I haven't fully recovered from the current burnout, but in recovery. So obviously, going forward, it's just taking things slower, listening more to my body and what it needs, because it's better for me to make less money, but be able to work for longer and not get burnt out. Because if I'm burnt out, I can't make any money at all. There's no perfect formula. I'm still figuring out. Takeaway would be, yeah, listen to yourself and don't compare yourself to, I guess, other people, especially other people that are not disabled, because you'll always lose, in the end. Keep you guys updated, my 3 or 4 viewers.